This is Ben James with NewsHour from the BBC World Service. After nearly 3 years of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the physical toll of death and injury to soldiers and civilians is a story regularly told. But the injuries of war are also mental and emotional. World Health Organization estimates have put the number of people in Ukraine potentially suffering mental health problems at around 10 million. And now there's a new way of helping to treat those mental injuries. Gardens. And not just any gardens, but so-called therapy gardens, specifically designed to heal the trauma. It's a concept from Scandinavia, brought to Ukraine by Mikael Colville-Andersen, a Danish urban planner and broadcaster. The first garden was planted earlier this year, and it's already helping people recover and reflect. Mikael told me where the idea for planting the gardens came from.
The idea came from a conversation with a German colleague here in Kyiv who works with mental health. And we were talking about all the different things we can do. And I said, hey, well, there's the Nordic Therapy Garden. And she said, what's that? And I realized that from that moment, I realized that nobody really knows of this scientific research that we did in Denmark and Sweden 10, 15 years ago, not only to take off the stress of daily life and to, make people feel a bit better with their mental health, but actually to heal mental trauma and PTSD. So I'm in Kyiv and I'm looking for opportunities to help the nation. So I thought, why not? Let's import this concept of the Nordic Therapy Garden. And if anybody needs it in Europe, it is the people of Ukraine.
Now, people who love gardens do talk about the benefits to their well-being of being in gardens in any garden, but this isn't just any garden, is it? There's lots of thought gone into exactly how it's put together.
What happened in Denmark and Sweden about 10, 15 years ago were researchers, they decided to see what the next level is. If nature is proven to take off a little edge of our stress, make us feel a little bit better, then what else can nature do if we can hack into how nature works? But they really found out that if you design correctly with the right design implementation in a forested setting, you can actually heal mental trauma and PTSD.
Give us some of the specific examples from this garden of how it was designed to cater to the trauma of those who are using it.
What we've done is designed for 3 levels of mental trauma. The people who are the worst affected, who can barely come out of their room, have difficulty talking, perhaps even suicidal, paranoid. So we really just put them in a 3-walled kind of like a cabin in a way, with a long view over a lake or a river. And this is a place where they just sit and start dealing with their issues themselves.
And 3-walled because it protects them from behind while allowing them to see the view.
The trauma-sensitive design is an integral part of these Nordic Therapy Gardens. So we can do trauma-sensitive design in public space where we have exactly a wall behind us. Deep in our DNA, we're worried about what's coming from behind, the animals or the enemy, and walls on either side that we have planted amazing climbing plants. But the structure itself is just to kind of pack you into a little safe space with this all-important long view. You have to be able to see into the distance. This level of mental trauma, you also have to eliminate people walking past on a pathway because these kind of patients might be a little bit paranoid, especially if it's a veteran who's come from the front lines here in Ukraine, always listening for the crunch of boots on gravel, things like that. So we really kind of isolate them and just let nature start doing its thing with the sights and the sounds.
And a good view of the sky as well, I understand, because of what people may have experienced from the sky in this war.
Oh, my goodness. This is one of the most interesting things. What we've learned here is the kind of war that's being waged is this drone war. So you were constantly scouting the skies for potential threats from above. And I'm talking like every second of the day when you're close to the front line. So some of these structures have a kind of an open roof with greenery on it. As the spring comes, the plants will grow up. But not all of these soldiers, in the research that I've done with Ukrainian veterans, want a cover over their head if they're at this level. They kind of still want to scout the skies for potential drones, even though they're in a safe setting now. So we've done kind of one of each. We've done one where you can sort of have a little bit of open sky, but you're still kind of protected by some plants. But then we have one where it's just open because it's a totally different kind of war here.
Are there places for people to meet and talk?
Yeah, the second level that we designed for is the people, once they start healing from this first level, the very severe level, then we created the same kind of 3-sided cabins, for lack of a better word, where there's a bench. In the other ones, there's just one chair because that person doesn't even need to think about a bench. Oh my God, somebody might come and sit down next to me, that level of paranoia. In the second level, there's a bench. You can invite your caregiver, your family, your friends. You can sit there and do the same thing. The third level is where you have healed yourself from the first two levels, and then it's more of a communal space. There's a big, round, trauma sensitive designed kind of a group area with a fire pit in the middle. There's an axe for chopping wood because now your body starts to reconnect with your mind and you want to do something with your hands. And this is where, the magic starts, the garden therapy. Go plant some potatoes, chop some wood. So it's these three levels that we're designing for, sort of a step by step towards healing their mental trauma and PTSD.
Let's hear from someone whose patients have used this garden.
Вітаю. Я лікар-психіатр Олена Миронець.
Hello, I'm Olena Mironets, a psychiatrist at the Pavlova Psychiatric Hospital in Kyiv. I wanted to tell you a bit about our recovery garden, but to really get across the atmosphere, I've come out here into the garden. It's hard to convey how it feels. Every time I find myself here, I feel at peace. I wanted to tell you about a recent case in my practice when a patient, a military serviceman, was afraid to go outside due to fear of people and his surroundings. But thanks to psychotherapy, medication, and the recovery garden, in a short time his treatment took a positive turn. The patient is currently undergoing rehabilitation and continues to visit the recovery garden. In another case, a displaced woman who was evacuated from an occupied territory came to us suffering from nightmares, disturbed sleep, and intrusive thoughts about her experience under occupation. And thanks to treatment and the support of a psychotherapist who used the recovery garden to help her rehabilitation, the patient has now recovered and is making plans for the future. Today, she speaks to patients she met in the hospital and visits the garden. I would like to thank everyone who contributed to the creation of this space. Together, we are changing the approach to mental health in Ukraine.
How does it feel to hear that?
It feels amazing. I mean, I have been out there, I don't spend every day there. We built it together with 1,000 volunteers, Ukrainians. We built it, put it together over 4 months. And then I go out once in a while and I have a Danish delegation. We come out and we meet the veterans, and it's never gets old, not a dry eye in the house, but yeah.
It means a lot to hear that it's working in practice.
Oh, absolutely, man. I mean, that just gutted me. It's amazing. It's wonderful to hear. That's why we did it. That's why we need so many more of these around Ukraine.
Mikael Colville-Andersen there, bringing us to the end of this edition of NewsHour. Thanks for spending some time with us, and we'll speak to you again soon.